I thought that it would be very, very timely to bring someone on that could talk about life insurance and practical things like that. Something that we don't often talk about during the show. But we have Angela Roberts. How you doing?
Hey, Diamond. I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. So you're going to talk with us about something that, as we talked about off camera, a lot of people don't want to talk about. A lot of people don't like to talk about. And quite honestly, it's not something that I'm super comfortable talking about all the time either. It's not like, it's not like we're talking about the Ravens or something. Like this is, this is a serious matter. Because we're talking about a time when we are not here, right? We're talking about a time
Correct.
we're no longer here. But I guess first introduce yourself and all that good stuff.
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. I'm super grateful for this opportunity, and I really appreciate you. My name is Angela Roberts. I am born and raised from Baltimore, Maryland. Quick about me, I was in the medical industry up until the end of December, decided to leave that and get into life insurance. Why do you ask? I'll get into that in this next half hour. But life insurance is very important to me. I work with, I'm affiliated with an amazing company called Family First Life, and they have allowed me to be an independent broker with them. I am contracted with almost every A-plus company out there, so I can go and look for several different policies to fit people's needs. So that makes it easy for me to be like your one-stop stop. So it's something I'm very passionate about because I'm able to give back to the community and educate the community on something they don't educate us with. I mean, think about it. You are required to get not life insurance, health insurance. In order to drive a car, you have to have car insurance, but they never require you to get life insurance. Why is that?
I'm sure it's a reason. I'm sure it's a reason. I mean, so when you talk about life insurance, of course, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. But
yeah,
we do a lot of stories where someone has passed away, and they may have a GoFundMe page, or there's some type of a collection that is happening with regards to the the service or something like that. Why does that happen? I'm asking like you're the GoFundMe. I mean, why does something like that happen? How does that happen?
So you think about it like this. Everybody plans for life. You plan for birth. You're excited about it. You make sure you're prepared, as prepared as you can be to bring a child into this world. But you never think about death. Nobody wants to think about death. Nobody wants to think about dying, but it's the inevitable. It's a part of life. And a lot of times people get the misconception you shouldn't think about life insurance until you're going to die. It's when you're older. But the fact is you can die at any time. And they get these GoFundMes, which it just bothers me when I see it, because the big thing is you got to wait for somebody to donate. And that body isn't going to wait. So you still got to put money out because you still have to embalm them. They can't just sit around and decay. And then you got to wait for like people to fund into GoFundMe. And GoFundMe, I'm going to give you some background on GoFundMe.
Okay.
No disrespect for them. It's great. You can sit there, you can get donations, but GoFundMe charges you 2.9% of every donation that went in there. So you're getting charged. You pay GoFundMe. Now, you don't necessarily get taxed, but the IRS can find different types of ways of that. If you have a donation over 20,000 or over 200 people that have donated, you have to fill out a 1099-K. So like, you don't want to take that chance.
They won't get a couple of dollars off that.
Right. The IRS could, depending upon how it was written, how it was donated, they could come for their money. And why would you want to do that when, guess what? Life insurance is tax-free. You never, ever pay taxes on life insurance. Another great thing about life insurance, when you're working with a funeral home and they know you have a policy, they will continue to do their work because they know you got a policy. They know they're going to get paid. And with life insurance, it typically does take 10 to 30 days. if you have an agent like myself, like I am dedicated to, I'm not just going to write you up a policy and say, oh, see you later, I'm out of here. No, I'm with you throughout that whole entire thing. God forbid the day you die, your family, I want them to call me, and I'm going to contact the life insurance company I put you through and expedite getting that money to you as quick as possible and take that stress off of you. Nobody wants to, it's bad enough when you have somebody that dies. I'm no stranger to death, unfortunately.
Right.
And I've lost my dad. My dad died 5 years ago, and that was very hard. And on top of everything else, trust me, you don't want to deal with the financial burden too. You don't want to leave that to your family. People always talk about one of my biggest arguments. I'm not going to be here. I don't care. That's such a selfish comment.
Yeah, I've heard people say that, and
that is
what
so selfish.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, it's one way of looking at it. What got you into this line of work? I mean, I noticed that you mentioned that you lost your father, and so I haven't had a loss that that major aside from my sister and my grandmother. But what is the loss of your father something that gave you an example of what to look at as far as the life insurance?
So when I'm sitting here telling you you don't want to deal with the financial burden on top of that, it's because I did, and I still do. Love my father, but my father, like a lot of people, misconceptions. I remember him being in hospice and telling my mom, Debbie, trust me, when I die, you'll be well taken care of. Everything's good. It's downstairs in the box. And of course, she's not going to go check. And by that time, it's too late anyway. But, lo and behold, he dies, and he worked for a company for 30 plus years. And when he retired, guess what? That policy from work retired with him. So he had a policy to get him cremated, but my mother was still left with the mortgage, still left with other things that, she's had to deal with in the last 5 years, us as a family have had to deal with. And that shouldn't have taken place. Like a lot of people think, oh, I got life insurance through my job, I'm good. No, it's like a company car. When you leave, you got to turn that in. And it sucks. But a lot of people don't realize that. So that was one of the big things. Like when it came down to me deciding to change careers, I wanted to get into a career where I could do what I was doing in the hospital. Like I love taking care of my patients. And now I get to take care of my clients. I get to help them prepare for a hard situation and be there and be compassionate and walk them through it, educate them and help them out and make sure that they don't ever have to go through what I went through with my dad.
So is there a policy that, and I guess you don't have to name the policy per se, but I mean, is there a policy that could have made what you and your mom experienced with the passing of your father easier?
Oh my God. Yeah. Any whole life policy, or even if he had a term policy, but he was 68. So you have a whole life policy that's with you for the rest of your life, which he did. He had a small one. It was a small one. it was $10,000. That's nothing. Like, let me tell you, the average to get cremated, no type of service, that's like 3 to 5. Cremated with the service is like
3,000 to 5,000.
Yeah, 3 to 5,000.
Okay.
Cremated with the service is like 5 to 7,000. You want to start burying in a coffin and going all out, you can spend onwards of up to $20,000, and that's talking now. So you want to think about how prices are going to go up in the future, because everything goes up.
Everything goes up. Yeah.
But
Definitely.
you want to have something in place to take that off. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to life insurance, big time. Like a lot of times people either think they won't get approved, or they can't afford it, or they don't need it now because they're young. When the truth is, the younger you are, the healthier you are, the better policy that you can get in place for you. And life insurance just isn't a death. Like life insurance is meant to be used while being alive. There are different riders, like a living benefit rider, meaning if you become sick, terminally ill, critically ill, chronically ill, you can take up to 80% off and live off of it.
Well, what if someone is sick right now, right?
Okay.
Because I think when some people say that they can't afford it or they wouldn't get approved, they feel like maybe they have an ailment, and maybe y'all would, not approve them based on their physical condition at the moment. Like, is that a thing?
That is a thing. But like I said in the beginning, I work with several different companies. So I am able to get pretty much anybody a policy. It might not be the fancy policies that you see about on TikTok and everything,
Right.
but
Can't
if
get a
you have,
Cadillac.
right, if you have a serious condition, like cancer or kidney disease or even AIDS, I can get you a policy. And you
Wow.
can get, you can get a decent amount that will take care of your burial and possibly leave anything behind. Like, you can get approved. And if you ever gotten denied before, I'm a different type of agent where, well, so let me rewind here. I don't do health exams. I don't do well, I can do a fully underwritten policy, but I usually do ones that are not. They're done off of your medical index bureau, meaning they take your social security number and they use that off of anything you've been diagnosed or any medications that you're taking. So, say for instance, something comes back and you got denied from there. A lot of people will walk away from that and won't look into that. No, I'm going to help you through that step where let's pull your report. Let's see what you got denied, because guess what? Diamond, have you ever had to go in and get like a CT scan or an MRI?
I have not.
Okay. Well, that didn't help there. But okay, so say you did.
But I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people that have. I know a lot of people that have.
So a lot of times, in order to get that approved from your health insurance, you have to put in certain diagnosis codes, and those codes go in. But a lot of times the doctors don't come back and say, hey, well, this patient doesn't have, I'll just throw lupus out there, or they don't have, a heart condition, but we needed to get this. So what you do is, if that's the case and you've never been diagnosed that, and that, all we have to do is go back to your doctor. They write a letter. We go to the MIB. We get that off of there. And then guess what? I can get you approved for a good policy. If it's the other end where you are sick and you do have cancer, I can get you approved for a policy there too.
Come on.
Right. Like, you've never had a CT or
no,
MRI?
I never had a no. Okay, so that I understand that, and that part is is something that I can digest, right? So I think that another objection that that folks would have would be how much. Like, how much do they have to pay? Is this a sliding scale based on their income? Is this like, how much money will we be talking about?
Well, so I'm not going to sit there and like sell you a policy that's going to hurt your pockets.
Right.
My main concern is, I'm going to look at your age, I'm going to look at your health, and then I'm going to ask you what your budget is and what can you afford. Because believe it or not, like I said, the younger you are, or even in your 50s, it's affordable. And we can always start off with a certain amount, and then when situations get better with you, we can increase that amount. But it's definitely a sliding scale. It depends on your age. It depends on your health. It depends on if you're a smoker or not too. And male or female. Believe it or not, males are considered more high risk.
You said males are considered more high risk?
Yes.
All right. So Casey Knox says, can you explain the difference between life and term?
Absolutely. So a typical regular term policy is just that. It's a death benefit. You can get it for 10, 20, 30 years. There are other certain term policies, which I prefer to do, like a CBO, which is a cashback offer, meaning like you get this term policy for 30 years. 30 years down the line, you never use it. You get everything that you paid into it back tax-free. So it's like you never paid for life insurance. And that's great too, because that's not just a death benefit. It has the living benefit on there, which she came late to the show. That's if you become sick, chronically ill, critically ill, terminally ill, you can take 80% out, as well as like accidental death riders. So I like a CBO term policy. A life policy is your whole life. So that builds cash value that's with you until your whole life until you die. So there's no end. Both of these policies that I do are locked in rates. They never go up. They never increase your monthly payments. Some terms do. You got to be really careful. Like my terms that I do with people, I make sure that their term policies don't go up. Like you see these commercials on TV. It sounds too good to be true. It's too good to be true because they're going to increase and they're going to increase rapidly. Yeah. And so that's a different, and then one other, and then you have an IUL, which is my favorite policy. And I can get into that later, but I really love index universal lives, which they're great. That's my favorite. So we can touch on that in a little bit.
Okay. So, so you're saying, so term is what it says. It is a certain amount of a start and stop time.
Yes.
There is that. And then life is the entire life of the person. So let's just say a person is in their 20s when they pass. They have to have had the policy for a certain amount of time before. No.
Say I write you a policy today and you die tomorrow, it pays out.
Okay. And then versus, let's say somebody's had the policy, they pass in they've had it for 50 years and they're in their 90s, you know, and so that person would get the same payout as the person who was in their 20s? Yes.
Depending on what the policy is. Like if they're in their 90s and it's not a term and it's a whole life and they're still in that policy, absolutely. They get that face amount of that policy. Okay. Same as that. So say you had we'll put it into numbers for people. Say you had a whole life policy for $25,000 for both people. Say the kid in his 20s, he got it, died a week later, he gets that $25,000. The person who's 90 that's had it for years, they get that $25,000. That's with a whole life policy. When we get into talking about IULs, that's very different because an IUL is something that you can take and you can overpay it and you can watch your money grow exponentially because it's backed off the S&P 500. So they're investing that money. So your cash value builds. But if you're doing an increasing death benefit, you can get your death benefit to increase too. It's all in how the policy is written. That's why there's like not one set policy for everybody. I take my time, I sit down, I talk, I see what you want. That's something that we do. We structure that policy for you. And that allows you to build tax-free retirement money. You see how life insurance is just not for death. It can definitely be for life too. Because you can take loans out on that. You can take loans out on it.
Yeah, I don't think the average person knows that. Yeah, I don't think the average person knows that. So so going back to your scenario with your dad and with your mom and you, how could a policy be structured to make things easier, you know, for the family after the initial burial? Like, so that cost a lot of money, right?
Yeah. I mean, we made it work. What could have been done in the case of my father is, while yes, having a $50,000 policy through your work is great, he should have had a $50,000 policy on his own too. If he would have died during the time that he was working, he would have got $100,000. Great. But the fact that after he died, after he was working and he didn't get that $50,000, that's the difference there. So you want to have a policy on your own, no matter what your job is offering you. That's just a added benefit.
Yeah, no, I understand that. So Casey says that if you take the loan out, do you have to pay it back?
You should. Yes, you would want to pay it back because that's going to take away from your death benefit. So you want to put that money back in there.
Right. Okay.
And it's dependent on when you take it out. It's at it's either between 2% and 4%. So
what city are you in?
I am, right now I'm in Edgewater, New Jersey.
Okay.
But I am licensed, and I'm licensed in a lot of states, and that licensing doesn't matter to me. If there's somebody out there that's listening that's in a state that I'm not licensed in, that's not a problem. So I can pretty much work in all 50 states in the United States.
Okay, so that's good to know because we have listeners throughout. So let's say someone, so you're in New Jersey. Let's say somebody is in Maryland, or someone's in Georgia, or someone's in Texas.
Yes.
You could still help them.
Yeah, and I'm actually licensed in all of those right
All those
now.
things.
So
Okay, all right,
that kind of works. How funny is that?
all right. How has this? So you were in the healthcare field. How has this differed from the work that you did there? Is it just as rewarding? Is it on a different level? Is it what is that?
um,
Rewarding for you personally, as you helping people.
rewarding for me personally. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of a amicable way to answer this without saying, but no, it's much more rewarding for me. It's personal for me because I get to build relationships. I get to work on my own. I make my own hours. I can devote as much time as I want to one client.
Right.
I can travel freely. I really love what I do. I'm really passionate about what I do because I feel like the world needs to be educated. We are not educated on this. They don't teach us about life insurance. They don't teach us about tax-free money. Why would they?
Well, that is true. They don't. This is not something that comes up. There's not a class or a course that I remember in high school or
No.
college that talked about this. You had to figure this out.
Yeah.
And usually your parents didn't really know a lot about it either. You know what I mean? So
You will be surprised at how many people that I run into that are in their 50s and 60s and that are not aware of the benefits of life insurance. There's a huge, because I know we're getting down to time. There's a huge one that I do want to touch on, and that's children. Like, you can set your children up that they never have to worry about life insurance. Like, you could get your child an IUL, like I was talking about, or you could get them a whole life policy. And the things that I like about like how I can set up for a whole life policy for a child is that you only pay into it for 10 years. After 10 years, it's paid off. But this child gets a guaranteed insurance eligibility rider. Now, what that means is that your child's healthy, and I'm not wishing this on anybody's child, but say 30 years down the line, unfortunately, they get cancer. They can still increase their policy. They can increase their policy up to either 5 or 6 times. And that's based off of, say they originally got a $25,000 policy, they can increase it in $25,000 policies, no matter what their health, no matter where their health is. And that's huge. That's setting your child up to have this money available. And then you could do the IUL like I was talking about, and that's really setting them up. But we got to take care of our children now. And this is beyond getting them, like when my child was young, it was the Gerber. And then when they turned 18, it went up. No, that policy premium amount stays the same, and they are guaranteed insured for the rest of their life.
wow, so that is really good information. How can folks find out more if they want you to help them with the plan? Like how can folks get Angela Roberts to help them with their life insurance questions?
So I am giving out my number. My number is available to everybody. Should I give it out now?
That's how you feel? Okay, that's what's up.
That's how I feel. I mean, I'm a businesswoman, so like,
Absolutely.
yeah, my phone rings off the hook anyway. So why not add to it? I can be reached at my personal number, which is 443-846-4286. And you can also email me, and that's at aroberts at ffl. aroberts at fflall.com. I had to think about that for a second. So again, that's aroberts at fflall.com. Give me a call or shoot me an email. We can set up a time, sit down and talk. It takes me about 20 minutes, maybe 30, depending upon what your situation is, to be able to find a policy that suits your needs and your budget. Like, I want people to be able to afford this. I want you to be able to take care of this every month. And to give you a range, like if you spend $5 on a coffee every day, because coffees are what, $5 to $10, if you gave up that coffee, you could get a very good life insurance policy.
Again, what's your number again?
443-846-4286.
So they frequently will say for the price of a cup of coffee, but that's like a legit thing.
That is a legit thing. That is a very legit thing. Like, yeah, like I said, it depends on your age, it depends on your health, but you can get a policy under $100, and depending upon which one you go into and where you are at, you can. It's not, I don't want to like make promises, but like the younger you are, you can get a $200,000-$300,000 policy for $100. That's if you're young. If
Right.
you're older, you know what I mean? You can still get a decent policy for $100. You could get a decent policy for $50. Whatever your budget is, it's allow me to help you figure it out. And I mean, one, yeah, like help me help you. One other thing, like I just want to, people don't realize, and this is not to be grim or sad or make people feel bad, but when you die, your children and your loved ones are left with liabilities, mortgages, car notes, other debts that they can't pay. And if they can't pay, that bank takes that away. If you have a house that has a significant amount of equity in it, that's all gone. All because you didn't take the time to prepare for something that's scary. It is a scary feeling. It's a scary feeling, but yet people ignore it like it's just going to go away, and it's going to happen. It's sad. Look at what we just had over the weekend in Baltimore. How many of those families prepared for that to happen? You don't prepare for violent and trauma to happen and death to happen like that. You think death happens in old age, but in this day and age, it does. It's a part of life, and we should prepare for it and make sure that you are in a situation where you don't have to worry about that. So you can stop thinking about it. Just think about it for like 20 to 30 minutes with me. You don't got to think about it anymore because you're going to be set.
Yeah,
It's that simple.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. And but like you said, most people are not, thinking that this is something that I'm going to have to deal with anytime soon.
Right.
But yeah, we had a very violent weekend in the Baltimore metro area. And
so sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is.
Absolutely.
And families shouldn't have to be burdened with financial difficulties on top of losing people. You know what I mean? Especially the violence. It's sad. And then the violence has to stop. But if the violence isn't going to stop, I say be prepared. Always be prepared. Be prepared for the worst case scenario, as sad as that may be.
Yeah.
And I try to keep it light. I try to keep it happy. I try to make these hard conversations a little bit easier. And like I said, for people that missed in the beginning, like I'm going to be your agent from the beginning to end. I'm going to help you out. I'm dedicated to that. I'm not somebody that you're just going to talk to once. I'm somebody that's going to be in your life.
Right. Yeah, that's important. And you have the personality that makes conversations like this a little bit easier. You know what I mean? So that's helpful as well.
Yeah. Death isn't final. I trust me. I smile and everything. Death hurts. I still miss my dad. It's not final. Energy doesn't die, but it's a part of life. It's a different relationship that you have with your loved ones that are no longer here, but they are always around us. I always tell people to look into nature, and you'll find your loved ones talking back to you. That's what gets me by.
Well, yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Thank you so much, Angela Roberts, and folks can contact you 443-846-4286, A Roberts at fflall.com. For those,
yes, and also if this is something that you would want to do in your life, and you can do it part-time or full-time, you can call me about that too. We can talk about that opportunity as well. Like I'm available 7 days a week. You can always contact me.
That's what's up. And you said that you are in multiple states. So wherever folks are listening in the continental US, you can help them out.
Absolutely.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much.
Diamond, thank you. I really appreciate you. It was great to see you and talk to you.
Yes,
It's been
yes.
years.
It has been a long time. It has been a long
So
time.
again, thank you for this opportunity for having me on your platform, and keep on doing the things that you do. I'm super proud of everything that you've done.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Proud of you as well.
Oh, thanks.
All right. That was Angela Roberts talking about the very important topic of life insurance and making things easier for your loved ones in the event that you pass away.
It's the Diamond K Show here at ONFIRE-TV.com.
Sony Pictures Entertainment has a new film that they released starring Viola Davis. And Viola Davis is the leader of an all-female set of warriors. So it took the #1 spot at the domestic box office over the weekend with a surprising 19 million. So they made some money. And the thing about it is that they were not projected to make the kind of money that they made. So that's why we say it was shocking, surprising. The film, the money, like I said, kind of unexpected for a few reasons. So it was projected to bring in around 11 million. So it definitely exceeded expectations. Also, the Woman King is an original, meaning it is not based on a previous piece of intellectual property. You know how they keep remaking stuff over and over again? This is something new. This is something that we hadn't seen before. And most of the movies that they've been making, in case you haven't been paying attention, have been something that we've already seen before. So this was different in that regard. And then it turns out to be a success at the box office. Oh, yeah. Some folks are mad. Some folks are happy, obviously. Now, in modern day Hollywood, to take the box office crown, right, to be the biggest movie of that weekend without being connected to a prior hit or a big franchise, that's very rare. So that's why this showing of The Woman King, the box office showing, is shocking and surprising to some people. Now, this action drama cost $50 million to make. They spent $50 million making this film. And, right now, there's not a lot of big budget movies out. There's not a lot of big, movies in the theaters like that. They have actually been struggling, talking about the movie theaters, the chains. They've been struggling to get folks into the theaters. Now, I know some of you like, oh, I love going to the movies, but everybody ain't going to the movies, right? So it's like something comes out, maybe people are hitting the movies, but pre-pandemic, folks was going to the movies every weekend. Now it is not like that. It has to really be a big event for folks to really, really come to the movies. So, and then you also have the fact that there are studios having supply chain issues. What do I mean? These are caused by the pandemic. And a lot of studios are skipping theaters altogether and going straight for the streaming services. Because, a lot of folks just want to stay home or do something else, stream it how they see fit. So they're not a lot of big time movies in the theaters. So Woman King comes out, bam, takes the #1 spot. A lot of folks got their panties in a bunch. Critics and audiences showered the film with raves, leading to a 95% critics score on the review site Rotten Tomatoes and a perfect A+ cinema score from ticket buyers. But you may have noticed online, some folks are upset, which goes back to what I said in the beginning. Inspired by true events. The film it clearly is not married to the facts. So they used the underlying story of the 19th century female warriors in an African kingdom as the jumping off point for this action vehicle. And there's a lot of melodrama. You got a love story in there. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But the combination really results in a strong showcase for the stars. Features a nice cast, a backdrop that serves as a refresh to the old school formula. The old school formula of filmmaking and storytelling. So why are some folks saying that there has to be a boycott of this movie? We should, not be supporting this movie. Why are some folks saying that? Some folks are mad. I personally venture to say some of the folks that are upset don't like the fact that this is a woman starred, directed, focused action drama where women are kicking men's butt. Some men are angry about that. So they want to zoom in on the fact that this is inspired by actual events and does not tell the actual history. This is not a historical this is not a documentary. This is a movie, which means that they are fast and loose with the actual history. But this happens in movies all the time. How do you think that? I mean, let's go back over the years when you talk about Cleopatra or folks from Egypt and they got white people playing it. That's historically incorrect. That ain't the way it was. Right? You got Tom Cruise as the last samurai. Really? He's not even Asian, right? Or, the stuff that happened with the debacle of the Harriet Tubman movie. And maybe I won't say debacle, but the Harriet Tubman movie, right? The Woman King is a movie. So are they fast and loose with the facts? A little bit, but they're not claiming to be a documentary, right? They're not claiming to be a documentary. So there are very few notable movies coming to the theaters until the Christmas season. So Woman King could continue to find an audience and rack up the sales at the ticket booth. And you're still going to have some folks saying, boycott the movie. How dare they not talk about the role that Africa played in the slave trade? It's ironic how many times we have seen movies that are inspired by true events not get it exactly the way it was, right? You had, what was it? Notorious, right? The movie about Biggie. Yeah, a lot of people say, oh, it wasn't happening like that. Where's this person? Where is that person? It's the movie. Can't fit everything in the movie. And they had a story that they wanted to tell. And was that the exact story? All Eyes on Me. Tupac's biopic. Was that the actual story? Go to New Edition movie on BET. These are historical. These are inspired by true events. Trying to tell their story. And I think that a lot of those may have held closer to the actual factual of the way things were than The Woman King did. But I love the concept. But there's a complicated history. Now, if you want to talk about the real story, we can do that. But this movie inspired by true events, but not an actual accounting. So don't boycott the movie. Don't listen to folks on the right who hate women, want to keep women in their place. The director of this movie also directed Love and Basketball, right? So she is venturing off into the world of action movies, and she's been doing her thing. So definitely, we got to salute to her. Gina Prince by the Wood. So this historical epic movie chronicles the trials and the triumphs of these lady warriors. And you know, it's to some to see it, it really is going to be an eye opener because Viola, look, she's believable in this role. All right, she's believable in this role. She committed to this role. The all-female special forces was also this all-female special forces was, you know, I don't know, like the inspiration for the women warriors in Wakanda, right? And the Black Panther sequel, Wakanda Forever, is probably going to focus even more closely on the women of Wakanda. So we're going to be seeing more imagery of strong women kicking butt. Prince by the Wood, the director, she has credited Black Panther with helping to pave the way for this film, especially in an industry in which the stories of our people of color, have not always been prioritized by studios. They ain't always wanted to tell our stories or tell a story that featured us in a good light. Let me say that. So The Woman King marks the first time that a major motion picture in this country has told the story of this African tribe of women who kick butt. It also addresses the role that that was played in the slave trade. But here's the thing. Here's what it does. And this may upset some folks. It glosses over the fact that the king at the time only temporarily paused the kingdom's participation in 1852. Some folks think that they've glossed over the role that was played in the slave trade. Now, talk about, you know, it's mind blowing when I hear that. But you know, if you do your research, you will see. You will definitely see the actual origins of these Amazon women. It's kind of cloudy. The first recorded mention of them dates back to 1729. 1729. One theory suggests that they began as a dedicated group of elephant hunters. And so you know, there's a lot of different theories out there. A lot of different theories. And you know, I think that folks need to go watch the movie. At the peak, the Agoji, this Amazon tribe of women, included as many as 6,000 members. 6,000 members. But while it is glossed over in the movie, there was a role that they played in slavery in the kingdom. There definitely was a role. It was very complex. Very complex. She experiences the horrors of slavery firsthand. And, you know, like I said, I don't want to spoil it for folks. But, you know, it's you're telling a story and, you know, you don't want to shy away from things. But also you're telling a part of the story. And the focus is about overcoming and fighting for what's right. So I think that they kind of balanced out. They kind of balanced out that and what role they could, you know, what story they could tell with regards to that. So 5% of slave exports came from that region. And it is a massive number of human lives. Massive number. Out of the total across Africa, it's a massive number when looked at the large number of 12.5 million people that were enslaved. 5% of that. It's a large number. When European history is discussed, scholars acknowledge the continent's heavy involvement in the slave trade. Or at least they're starting to do that more now. Now, we also have to recognize the contributions that each nation made to the world. Neither existed without the other. So we're going to have plenty of time to consume the legacy of the Dahomey and the slave trade. But at the same time, like you do with any other continent or any other country, we also need to talk about the things that they did independent of this. The Agoji women of 1823, the ones who are portrayed in the movie, were not slave raiders. So it is interesting. I definitely encourage folks to go see it, check it out. Do not be, I don't know, influenced to not support it because of something that you heard somebody say on the right. Some Republican-leaning person that wants to shame it. Give it a chance. Check it out. And we are back. There are so many different months that bring light to very important information that we need to know about. I did not know that September was the awareness for IIH. I didn't know it was IIH Awareness Month. But thankfully, I have someone on that's going to be able to tell us a little bit more about this and talk a little bit about her journey. How are you doing?
I am well, kinda.
Kinda well.
I
got you. So please introduce yourself.
I am Shenee Woodson. I am the founder of Shenee Shares and His Favor Ministries, formerly known also for His Favor Magazine. And I have been diagnosed with idiopathic intracranial hypertension and PCOS. So I'm excited to be able to talk to you about that today, Mr. Diamond K.
Okay. All right. So those were a lot of words. So you used your what I call the SAT words.
Yes.
So I guess let's talk a little bit about what that actually is. I have a definition on the screen here. Does that sit well with you?
That sits very well because that's exactly what it is. It is pressure on the brain, and it causes headaches. And those headaches are not normal headaches. You're talking about migraines. I mean, migraines to the point where you can barely move. You barely want to talk at times, and it just messes up your whole day. Vision loss. Me and my ophthalmologist are best friends. Glasses. When it comes to vision loss, I can even tell with my glasses on now. I actually have an appointment coming up because I know that my vision is getting a little worse. Because if it's not taken care of, you can lose sight with this because the pressure on your eyes, your occipital nerve. What happens is it builds so much pressure that you end up losing your sight. There's other symptoms included with this as well: vomiting, nausea. Your fingers tingling. There are some people who start stuttering, memory loss. There's a lot of different things associated with this, and as people are still talking about other symptoms as they're doing more studies with this, and we're finding out that more and more people are experiencing IIH. Is also known as a pseudo tumor, which is a fake tumor what it is our body actually thinks that it has a tumor when it really doesn't.
So, I'm very sorry to hear this. How did you become aware that this was something that affected you?
Well, I've always had migraines, and it was getting to the point where it was happening more frequently. And I'm like, why am I having all these migraines all the time? So I went to the doctors and said, why am I I'm having migraines more often? I know it was stress. I was going through a lot at the time. It was definitely stress induced. So if you're stressing, please take care of yourself. But so when I went to the doctors and I said, hey, you know, and I'm noticing I'm seeing all these little specks as well as I'm, you know, in my vision. So they referred me to see the ophthalmologist. And when
Like
I went
actual specks?
yes, like little specks flying in, or little specks of light or black dots I would see. Like if I close my eyes for I'd open them, all of a sudden I would see these black specks just all over the place for no reason. Or I would have periods of, you know, just not being able to see for like 2 or 3 seconds at a time. And I'm like, no, that's scary. And I'm like, okay, something's not right. I'm supposed to be able to see. So when I went to the doctor, they referred me to the ophthalmologist. So when I went, they did a thorough exam. And first he said, well, you know, you have papilledema, your occipital nerve is swollen. They thought I had MS at first, multiple sclerosis. So they wanted to rule that out at first. He gave me the whole MS talk and said, you may have this, you know, let's rule this out first, see if there's anything else before we continue anything, any other studies. Got an MRI done. They had me come back for another MRI, come to find out this is what that diagnosis was. And yeah, I was like, finally, now we know where the migraines are coming from and why I'm experiencing these moments of vision loss. And it went from there. So as time progressed, there was a moment where it was really, really bad. I was in my room one day about to prepare. I'm also a professional development trainer for Department of Human Services, preparing for one of my sessions to teach. And I passed out. My daughter was home. You know, we was during the pandemic, so schools was not in session. They was in session, but they were virtual. And she ended up having to call my mom and the ambulance, and for like 15 to 20 seconds, I couldn't see. I thought I was out of here. I was bargaining with God. God, anything
you thought this was the end? Yes,
I really did. I said, okay, if anything I've done, Lord, forgive me. You know, I'm about to see you. Somebody, you know, I hope my daughter's being taken care of. And, you know, I all this is going through my head as I was experiencing this. So when I got to the hospital, I had vomited so much, they couldn't even start an IV on me. There was no fluids in me, nothing. So they had to do a spinal tap. And that was actually the second time I had one.
That is not pleasant.
Yes. They did a spinal tap and relieve some pressure from my brain from the fluid. I was okay after that. And then when I went to the neurologist again, they said if they have to do it any more times, they're gonna have to put a brain stent, which is just like a catheter that'll help drain the fluid to come from your brain. And
so it's as you described it, it's really characterized by the increased pressure inside the skull, right? And you know, the pressure of the fluid that surrounds the brain is too high.
Yes.
And so it's just amazing that, I mean, I guess I could understand the severe headaches. I'm just surprised that it affects vision, you know. But I mean, I can understand considering what it is that that it would cause these intense migraines. So what type of medicine did they give you for this?
Well, I'm on seizure medications. I'm on antidepressants. I'm also on I call it just in case somebody diuretics, the pee pill. I constantly peeing just to make sure, you know, the fluid doesn't build up in my brain too much. Not saying I'm glad I have it, but I'm glad that it's starting to be put out there more, because more people, I think, need to understand it's maybe not just a migraine, maybe it's something you need to get checked out, and ask your doctor to look more into it, because a lot of doctors are still not really knowing what this is. They're still researching to find out what's going on.
Did any of your treatments, did they talk about lifestyle or dietary modifications?
Yes. They're tracing some of it back to maybe obesity. and also again stress and your lifestyle as far as eating habits.
Right.
I was put on a gluten-free and sugar-free diet. I have been hard-headed sometimes, but when I first started, the summer came around and
Yeah.
but yeah, all seriousness though, but yeah, sugar-free, definitely gluten-free. I have to be mindful of that. And also again, I also have PCOS as well. So I'm dealing with two different chronic illnesses, back to back. So I'm having to be mindful even more of my eating habits, because it also affects, the weight going up and down. They're associating IH with weight gain. However, some people that I have talked to, I mean, they're small. Their weight is actually, they would be considered, underweight. However, they're still experiencing IH. So, everybody isn't the fact that it's obese and is geared towards, women of childbearing years, but that is weight is a part of it, and eating healthier can help.
Absolutely.
And I've had met two people already who don't have it anymore. They're on remission, and the doctor told them make sure they maintain their weight.
Right. And with regards to the affected populations, instances in the general population, about 1 per 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in some instances, it can affect men and children as well, but lower frequency of that. So I'm glad that you have a support group and folks that you can talk to about this.
Well, this is my first time being more involved with it because I've recently been diagnosed.
Mhm.
But on my end, I'm actually going to do like you're doing, interviewing, processing,
Wonderful.
and interviewing people who have it. It's been hard trying to get all of us together. I actually just put a post on my page saying, please pray for us, trying to get all of us together, because my partner and one of my partners, she's actually in the hospital now, and they found out she also has Crohn's disease alongside of this. So I'm trying to deal with that. Not saying I've been diagnosed for a purpose, but I'm using this for a purpose, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of
I'm
sense.
not going to sit back and say, "Oh, I got it." I'm going to fall back and just forget everything else I do. I'm like, okay, I know what I need to do now. Is because I've had my shoes in a lot of different things, so I'm gonna utilize that in order to bring awareness and help other people to know what's going on. So we talking about doing even a walk as well to bring awareness, because you got other walks out there. Not putting them down, because I walk for MS. Actually, my sister has MS, so just the same, some of the same things that you see other awarenesses do, just doing it for IH as well.
Right. Well, I'm really glad that you are open to talk about this, and other people that are dealing with this can kind of have some comfort in knowing that they're not alone in being affected by this, and all of that. You talked about your platform a bit. Why don't you shout out your social media and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, well, everything is under Shenee Shares. I just launched my own business called Shenee Shares. Shenee Shares, hashtag Shenee Shares, at Shenee Shares, social media, all of it is Shenee Shares.
Yeah.
The reason why I call it Shenee Shares, because Shenee is sharing her life journey in order to help other people. I feel like me being transparent is going to be able to help other people to be able to move forward with the things that they want to do. With my faith, me just letting people know she's going through this, but she's still pushing. She's still doing what she needs to do. So I'm very transparent with a lot of things that I do with Shenee Shares. I also share my resources as well. So Shenee is just sharing.
That is good.
That's what it is. Some people know me from doing the magazines and interviews and stuff from in the past. I've interviewed some. I can name drop Michael B. Jordan, Sterl K. Brown, etc. However, I'm taking this time out just to just help other people to be able to reach their goals as well, but sharing my journey in the process.
Right, and that is so good. So you say Shenee Shares. I like that. It's a catchy name. It's a catchy name. Whenever you have something that you need to share, you know how to get in touch with me. So definitely, you have an open invitation anytime that you need to share something here.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And same here.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I appreciate you taking some time to chop it up with me.
Of course. I was like, oh my gosh, no, Diamond, let me get it on here. I gotta get it together, pull it together. I'm not all the way made up and face beat and stuff, but I gotta get it on here. It's my
You look great.
my buddy. Thank you.
All right. Again, Shenee shares. Shenee Woodson, thank you so much for stopping to the Diamond K Show.
Of course.